Greetings, Kindred. I am voivodemekhet, and welcome back to our world of darkness. I am here with Silent Comedy yet again to have another Tapping the Veins session, this time on the Clan of the Beasts, the animals, the ferals, the savages, the barbarians, so many different nicknames for these guys. Clan Gangrel. Say hi, Silent.
Hello, Silent.
Really?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
all right.
what's going on, everybody? Glad to be back, man. Glad to finally be I'm just glad we're doing this.
Oh, hell yeah,
Like I'm
hell
just
yeah.
super happy that we're doing this. This is so much fun. It seems like a lot of people in the community really liked it. I even
hmm
started getting some mentions in the Discord, and like people having conversations. So
Very cool, very
I'm,
cool.
I'm glad people are enjoying it so far.
I'm glad. I'm glad because this was a lot of fun. Probably
Oh
one
yeah,
of the more fun things that I've done recently on the channel. I like working with other people. So here we
yeah.
are.
As I say, we've done a lot of what this series really is, just for fun, like in our downtime.
True.
So it makes perfect sense that we're finally doing a series together and kind of putting these conversations out there for others to join in and give their take.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would make this more typical for a normal conversation is if we had Blood Hunt in the background where we were going. So,
Yeah, that would probably make it more like
our
our
typical
past experience.
conversations.
Yeah.
So, Clan Gangrel, you said something just a second ago as we were getting ready and setting up, making sure sound checks and everything were good. That you said that you didn't think that Clan Gangrel was as complex as a lot of the other clans. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
put you on
so
the spot there.
okay. So I don't when I say that they're not as complex of a clan, I don't mean that in the way of like there's no interesting or like poetic, depth to the clan. I don't mean it like that.
Mhm.
They're not complex. That doesn't mean they're shallow. When I say they're not complex, I mean that it's not like the Gangrel are not your typical. They're not your Bruja,
Mhm.
okay? Because that's the first clan we talked about in the series. So they don't have massive like mortal social, political movements necessarily,
Ah,
right? Like
okay.
yeah, they're the Gangrel are the clan to me that can be anywhere and go anywhere, just about do anything. Um,
That I'll
but the
give you.
one thing, but the one thing that stays true through every Gangrel is no matter how vastly different each member of the clan can be, it's that they enjoy their freedom,
Mhm.
and I think we see that even more so now in the current V5 canon, right,
Yeah.
where they have a mass exodus out of the Camarilla.
That's true, and
Um,
that was
they
starting to
really
get set
are,
up in '99 though.
yeah, yeah. It was set up in previous editions.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was revised even in revised. The Laws of the Night revised
Yeah.
had the Gangrel not being proper members of the Camarilla anymore. But I mean, they're
Well,
the perfect
yeah.
clan for it. They don't need politics. They don't need rules.
No, and
Like
unfortunately, the
the
politics
Gangrel
needed
really
them.
are the perfect. Absolutely, yeah. They absolutely need the
Like
Gangrel. And without them,
in one foul sweep, the Camarilla lost like almost all of their protection. They lost the Bruja, they lost the Gangrel, they lost the Tremere. Well, they didn't lose the Tremere, but they lost a good chunk of the Tremere. The Tremere are not as indebted to the Camarilla as they have been in the past.
right. I mean, the Gangrel are the perfect vampire clan.
hmm
And what I mean, I don't know really how to explain it or put
Well,
it into
survival
words
wise, you're
better than that. It's
100%
just like
right.
yeah, they don't need anything. They
Mm.
have everything they need to be the longest living kindred, Canite, whatever you want to call them, in the setting. They can go anywhere. I mean, there's nowhere they can't live. And like, you think about like, oh, well, it gets harder for elders, right, to sustain themselves. But the Gangrel don't care. They have a discipline that says no matter how old you are, you can still feed on animals,
To a point. To a
right?
point, because they will eventually outgrow that kind of stuff. But animal succulents, because I assume that's what you're talking about,
an
because
animal.
they basically act like their blood potency is lower than it is.
Right, and no matter how big or small the animal, they always can slake at least one hunger
Yeah,
from that animal. Now that's assuming that they have that discipline, but I mean the that particular power, but the tools are at their disposal,
that's
right? They
yeah,
have
no, that's
everything
absolutely true.
they need. They don't need. They're not like the Bruja. They don't need the potence and the celerity because they're gonna outlast and just quite frankly out survive just about any situation.
Hmm.
Uh, which I think,
Gangrel Gangrel were my default clan. If I was coming into a game and I
yep,
didn't know what I was going to play, hands down, a Gangrel's coming in because they don't like. I'm kind of agreeing with you when you say that they're not that complex, but they're simple. You don't have to have an overarching internal purpose for a Gangrel to wander into a
yeah,
city.
maybe complex wasn't the correct word. They're not complicated.
Yeah,
That's maybe a better way of saying it. They're not a complicated clan. They're also the first clan I ever played,
really.
and yeah, my very first character
How was that
was a
experience
Gangrel.
for you?
Well, it was. You've heard me talk about my first tabletop experience with Vampire. It wasn't a great experience just as a new gamer.
Hmm.
The fact that I still even like tabletop gaming is honestly a miracle. um,
Uh,
but
it happens. It turns us
yeah,
away sometimes too.
yeah. Well, I'll put it this way: my first three characters in my first six sessions were all Gangrel.
Hmm.
So that should tell you a little bit about what that's like. But
My first Sabat
yeah,
character was a Gangrel.
well, that was my first game was a anti-tribute was a Sabat
Yeah.
game. So yeah, same. Um, well, when we talked about Bruja, and I mentioned that my first experience with a Bruja was getting a motorcycle tire to the face.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my second Gangrel after the first Gangrel died to a Lasombra Elder. So, but no, I bad tabletop experiences aside, like horror stories aside, they are one of my favorite clans, and
Hmm.
I people are gonna hear me say that I like a lot of clans. I like almost every clan,
Yeah.
but they're gonna hear that there are three clans in particular that I really really love, and the Gangrel are one of those three.
Well, I've always
Um,
seen the I've always seen Clan Zamitzi, which everybody knows is my favorite clan, as a sophisticated Gangrel.
kind of, yeah,
You know, like if Clan Zamitzi did not exist, I think I would still be playing a Zamitzi using Clan Gangrel.
yeah. That actually gets into some of my favorite topics about the Gangrel,
Oh,
right? And this may be getting ahead of putting the cart before the horse, but I like everybody thinks when they read Gangrel, it's like, oh, it's werewolf if you want to play vampire, but it doesn't have to be.
it doesn't have to be.
And that's what I love about like I know that we have our own individual opinions on what the Everyman clan is, and I don't necessarily think that the Gangrel is the Everyman clan. But what I do think is that the Gangrel clan can like the Gangrel have a niche, a type of person,
Yeah,
right? That you have to be made of pretty tough stuff to survive as a Gangrel.
yeah.
So, but I think that the Gangrel will find the opportunity to find those people made of tougher stuff
Hmm.
in any kind of place in the world.
Okay, I
So,
can see
like,
that.
a really popular one is the I forget the character's name from New York by Night. But he's like the shark.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about. That guy. That guy was neat.
yeah. I like this character a lot.
That
Ray.
guy,
His character's name was
Ray.
Ray.
Thank you. I was about to pull up. I was actually about to pull it up to see if I could find it. Yeah, Ray was awesome, and I didn't expect him to be the way that he was, but I did like that, like high end corporate exile Gangrel. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Like he
um,
kind of took a major part of like the Gangrel being the exile, and like instead of reveling in it, was like fighting against it,
hmm yeah.
which is just an interesting like dynamic to take with that.
Well, I mean, I playing a Gangrel, I've always really enjoyed the concept of I'm not here to be an enemy to my beast. I am here
No,
to
yeah,
try to become an ally to my beast so that we can work together. I think Gangrel outside like how a lot of vampires, like we talk about Golconda and stuff. Well, a lot of vampires have a hard time because they try too hard to be human
Yep.
to hit Golconda. I think Gangrel miss Golconda because they try too hard to relate to their beast, and they end up basically placating it to the point where they think that if they feed it, it'll calm it down enough. And they're still not trying to find that balance that would lead to something like that.
See, that particular topic really depends on your personal take on what Golconda is.
Okay.
Is it supreme morality, or is it perfect unity and balance with
I
your
think it's
beast?
balance.
I also think it's
I
balance.
think it's balance. I think
I,
that whole, I think the rumor of it being superiority of, or not superiority, but like a higher level, humanity 11.
yeah.
You know, I think the rumor of it, you have to be a good person. I think that rumor because people, the only reference they have to it a lot of times is Salubri.
Hmm.
And when you think about the Salubri, classically it's the good vampire.
Yeah.
So learning how to balance the humane side and the beast. Oh my god. Okay, no, we need to stop talking about this right now because this is gonna turn into a Salubri conversation.
No, it's
And
not.
I'm
We won't.
I
I
just
won't let
I
you.
just had a revelation about Solot, and now is not the time. Um,
Well, I'll interject then and say this. Your take on it is that the Gangrel placate their beast too much. I respectfully have to disagree with that.
okay.
I think if any clan were to comprehend the needs of the beast, not as like this metaphysical entity within yourself, but as a part of yourself.
Hmm.
I think the Gangrel are with the perspective that Golconda is, a balance. I think the Gangrel are perfectly the most like perfect clan to find
Yeah.
that balance. Because, and this is something I wish we would have talked about in the Brewha video, and maybe we could make a segment of this for future videos.
Okay.
Is what is the beast of the clan like? And the Gangrel is the perfect class or perfect
Yeah. I
clan to
you know
talk
I
about
feel
that.
like I feel like we did kind of talk about that with
Yeah,
Bruja because when we talk about the Banes and the compulsions and stuff like
yeah,
that, that in my opinion is the beast of the clan. That is the antediluvian reaching forward and taking control of the character, and that, in my opinion, is the beast.
yeah.
Um, at least when before they lose themselves completely and become a white.
I think we need to have a conversation in the future about the beast in itself.
That, you know what? Let's get through the clans and talk about the beast. You know, there's no reason why this tapping the vein needs to stop with clans. You know,
Yeah,
there's
I know.
there's
I
topics
completely
we can
agree.
cover.
There's topics we can cover in this podcast. I think the beast is one that we definitely need to
Oh,
shine
definitely.
some light
We'll
on
we'll add
when we
that to
get
the
to it.
list. We'll
Yeah,
add that to the list.
but the Gangrel are. I think that the Gangrel interaction, like
Hmm.
on a nightly, because you and I talk a lot about the details of like really putting yourself into the character and making that the characters that we play like as real to us as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think the Gangrel are one of those clans that you have to kind of get outside of that box and like start imagining like what is it like? What would it be like for a character to actually like hunt like an animal?
Hmm.
You know, to assume the form of a wolf and run through the woods and hunt lives like wildlife. You
Yeah.
know, there's I don't think there are any other clans you have to do that with. The Gangrel I think are one of the best clans to
I
like actually
I think
experience
there's
what that.
certain ones that would do that by choice,
Yeah,
but I feel like the Gangrel are more pushed into doing it like out of necessity.
yeah,
So, speaking of the survival of Clan Gangrel,
hmm,
they come with animalism,
yep,
they come with fortitude, and they come with protean. And I personally think that is the best setup for them. Personally, I was always like, oh, why don't they have aspects? Those heightened senses would be amazing. But I can also just see having the three typical, the animalism, the fortitude, and the protean. What are your take on their disciplines?
Well, you know how last time we said that the Brujah, if it's not broke, don't fix it?
Hmm.
There is a reason why the Gangrel have, ironically, survived through every edition with no changes.
That, you know what? That's actually a little bit more apt of an answer than I think you realize. Because have you ever played Requiem?
I have, and they didn't change a single
They
thing
did
about them.
not change a single thing.
The Gangrel were one of the and Requiem is a whole other like rabbit hole, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like they cut the core clans from 13, 14,
Down to
right, to
five.
5.
Down to
And
five.
what
And
was
you
the
can
one
definitely still
clan that
see who they
didn't
are.
change? Yeah, you can still see who they are,
But
but
the Gangrel were the Gangrel.
what was the one clan that didn't change?
At
It
all.
was the Gangrel.
They still
And
have
so I think that
animalism.
that
They still
speaks
had
volumes.
fortitude.
That
They
speaks
still had.
volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
ridiculous.
even their Bane in Requiem, right? Well, that was the first system where Banes were kind of, the
Yeah,
term
yeah.
Bane was kind of good. Their Bane in Requiem is just their compulsion in V5.
Pretty
So
much,
really,
yeah.
it didn't even change. Like even they even still got the animal traits, but like they had the feralness about them,
Hmm.
right? That made them suffer penalties to mental rolls. So the fact that the Gangrel haven't changed at all mechanically,
Hmm.
or really thematically for that matter, through the system speaks volumes about just how quintessential this clan is. And
Yeah.
you think about it in a lot of, especially when you think about like medieval fantasy, when in medieval fantasy genres, when they depict vampires, they're these glowing red eyes, sharp teeth and claws,
Yeah.
snarling, just primal hunger. And the Gangrel embody that perfectly in the World of Darkness.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their discipline, Protean, which again, the Gangrel have 3 of my 4 favorite disciplines. So, like it's obvious that I love them for that reason as well. But
Yeah.
um, Protean, you look at Protean, and with the exception of maybe some of the newer powers that have come out in the last couple years, Protean is the one discipline that has no inherent die pool.
Okay.
Like the base Protean, like of course you have like your vicissitude and some of your other like weird setite
Yeah,
options.
yeah. Amalgams.
Yeah, but the core elements of Protean have no inherent die pools. They just require rouse checks, or they don't require rouse checks, and they don't even require a roll. I think that says a lot about the clan's ability to be from any walk of life.
Yeah.
Like, there's the Gentleman Gamer,
Yeah. Matthew Dawkins.
I believe it was, did a yeah, Matthew Dawkins. Shout out to him because he's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
He did I forget how many years ago he did um like a character creation video, like a live stream,
Hmm.
and they made a Gangrel, and this Gangrel was like primarily social, but she had high dots of Protean.
Yeah.
It's like that was a revelation to me that like the Gangrel really can be anybody. I think she was like a political science student
Hmm.
was the character that they had made that day. And it's like, wow, yeah, the Gangrel really can be.
Anybody.
They don't anybody,
They
you
really
know.
can be. They're also the
Now
clan that
again,
had the most
saying
bloodlines.
it's true, and it's because of the mutability of their blood.
Hmm.
But I think, and I want to clarify for our listeners, when I say that in like the Gangrel can be anybody,
Uh-huh.
that is very different than saying anyone can be a Gangrel.
That's true. That's true. That is a there's a huge difference between the Gangrel can pop up in any social circles.
Hmm.
Is a lot different than saying, oh, anyone could just be a Gangrel.
Yeah.
Because the Gangrel are survival, and where we all have that internal instinct to keep going and to basically just push through all of the horrible things that we experience, not everybody is built for survival the way Clan Gangrel is.
Yeah, and while the clan's bloodline, the blood of the clan, provides them a lot of the tools that they need to
Hmm.
survive, it's a year before their sire even shows themselves.
Ah, okay. That.
Well, I mean, maybe that's not the case across
I'm
everyone, but I
not
mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. That is definitely something that you hear about in the older in the old
Yeah.
systems. You don't
And I'm
really
not
see it
saying that's
much
the
here.
only reason. Yeah, I'm not really saying that's the only reason why, right?
Hmm.
Like the
Well, how
the
many
Gangrel.
caitiff out there are actually just Gangrel and don't realize it because their sires didn't tell them?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
But that
There's a
also
reason why.
tells me that caitiff has never frenzied. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair too. Yeah, I mean, it's not the only reason why, right? But it is one of the bigger reasons, at least in my perspective, of why is like because at least in the lore, most Gangrel aren't going to stick around. They're gonna watch, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna linger. But they're not going to bring you in until you can prove that you're made of the stuff that they want to see that
Hmm.
you're made
Well,
of.
they don't want a
Yeah,
baby. They want to make sure that
yeah,
you're going to be able to handle things on your own.
yeah, because it's a nasty world out there, and the Gangrel are probably the ones who get to see the most of just how bad the world of darkness really is,
Yeah, they also get
especially if
to
they're
avoid a lot.
nomadic.
A good amount of them get to avoid the politics also.
Which is probably one of the best things about the clan.
Yeah.
Which I think, I mean, I'll be honest, I think it's a fascinating topic that, like, you go all the way back to the stories of, like, Enoch
Hmm.
in the Book of Nod, right? And you have all these
It's quickly
clans
becoming a Church of
scheming,
Cain
right?
podcast.
No, but, like, I mean, just the stories of the lore of the game, right? Is like every clan had its place in the lore,
Hmm.
right? And then you get further in time into like the Dark Ages, and the Gangrel were hugely pivotal for other clans in the
True.
Dark Ages because they were the couriers, they were the
Yeah,
messengers
they would help them
of the
travel from
time
city
period.
to city. Yeah, no, they definitely did have a spot when it
Yeah,
came to that kind of thing.
but the Gangrel have always claimed their place as we're not here to deal with your politics,
Hmm.
and like all the other clans just kind of accept it, like I'm not saying that there aren't Ventrue and Toreador out there and La Sombra, like in the Sabbat, who are trying to like wrangle them into their schemes and politics. But I forget which clan, which book it was from what edition. But there was in like the V20, they have like the clan opinions of each
Yeah,
from the other clans, right?
that was one of my favorite part of the older books, is you could like
I
see what they thought about everybody else.
yeah, and the Gangrel have some of my favorite ones.
Hmm.
But one of the things that I loved was I think it was either the La Sombra or the Ventrue was don't let them know that you're throwing them under the bus because it will bite back.
Yeah.
you know, I think my favorite one from the Gangrel specifically, and I don't even have to look this up to quote it, was the Gangrel's opinion of the La Sombra.
Hmm.
Was it said something along the lines of like, "I'm not, I'm not afraid of the dark, so you better hope you have something scarier under that cape." And like, it's probably one of my favorite V20 quotes.
that is a funny quote. So about things that have changed with Clan Gangrel, um, their bane. Their bane's
Yeah,
changed since we came up into V5. Traditionally, as a Gangrel frenzies over time, they gain one beast trait um, that sticks with them permanently. There is a level of Elder Protean that allowed them to let it revert back over time, and I do believe that if they frenzy after that, they come back, like they all come back at once. And then you have to utilize that discipline. I'm not really even sure how it worked, but the Bane isn't permanent anymore. They say that it sticks with them like a hangover when they frenzy, and then basically recedes during day sleep. So now it is, and they actually have a very long description for the Bane. It says that the Gangrel relate to their beasts much as other kindred relate to Gangrel, suspicious partnership. In Frenzy, Gangrel gain one or more animal feature, a physical trait, a smell, or a behavior. These features last for one or more nights afterwards, lingering like a hangover following debauchery. Each feature reduces one attribute by 1 point. The storyteller may decide that a forked tongue or bear-like musk reduces charisma, while bat-like ears reduce resolve. All those distracting sounds. If nothing immediately occurs to you, the features reduces intelligence or manipulation. The number of features a gangrel manifests is equal to their bane severity. So, if you have a character that has a high bane severity, you're just going to grow all of these things, and then they reduce over time. But like as you frenzy, you gain temporary beast traits instead of permanent beast traits. What are your thoughts on that?
So the Gangrel Bane, I listening to you describe the way it used to work, I don't think it was ever actually very clear on how that was supposed to work in older editions.
I think
Because
it
I'm
was it was
remembering,
hard because like I had a mean storyteller, and I'm talking about Cole, who is a occasional player at my table.
yeah,
And the way that they did things is that we didn't realize it, but we were literally de-evolving. Like eventually, we just shrank down, turned into that animal, and crawled off into the dark.
hmm,
So, which was hard for me playing a gangrel who was on Path of Metamorphosis and obsessed with changing. I was frenzying on purpose.
yeah.
So, but
Well,
it's
so
not a permanent change
older
anymore.
editions, well, I don't. Here's the thing, though, is in older editions, it was never. I don't think it was ever really a permanent change. So
Okay.
the way that there was one instance where the changes were permanent, and that was if you botched the frenzy roll. So it
Okay.
was temporary or on a temporary change that lingered if you failed the frenzy check,
Now, is that a
and then if you
specific edition that you're thinking of? Because
it it could very well be a specific edition, but that's how I just remember it.
okay,
Um,
I mean, you might just
I
have a nice
can't.
storyteller.
I mean, it's very possible, right? So the flaw of the Gangrel, I remember reading it and always going, "This is kind of ambiguous."
Hmm.
So the fact that the V5 is more concise, it's still ambiguous, right? But it's ambiguous for a different reason. It's like the if you bleed off a beast trait once a night, right?
Okay.
Or once a day, you bleed off one of your beast traits. But the penalties that it can impose on you, those are more ambiguous. But I think that overall the flaw is still pretty well the same. I just think that it's more detrimental as you get older,
Okay.
which it should be. Which it
Well,
should
it
be.
would be with blood potency and everything.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting. Like the creature of the black. Is it the creature of the Black Lagoon or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that the name? Yeah, was a gangrel that had just.
That's a mariner.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember if they were a mariner who like devolved, lost all their humanity and became a white, or if they were just like a super old gangrel,
Yeah.
right? But
Well, I
like
mean,
you have the
even Beckett had some
permanent traits.
permanent traits.
Yeah, the
You know,
eyes and
the eyes, the
I think,
claws.
and I think he had like feathers on his forearms or something.
I do not remember that, but that's interesting.
There's a reason why he wears the bracers. I don't remember if it's feathers or something
I think
else,
it's
but
fur.
maybe it was fur. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah. I don't know.
but
I like the way that the Bane works.
mhm.
They do, just like all the other clans, have uh, a Bane variant. And
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if I like this one.
Okay.
um, it says that this variant is good for danger-filled chronicles where fire and sunlight are a constant threat, but mere mental and social conflicts are less common. So this is set for an adventuring plotline.
For a nomad.
Yeah, it says that nothing matters more to animals than survival. Among the most treacherous of all vampire clans, the Gangrel, can endure almost anything and thrive in the harshest of conditions. Where the beasts can often put a vampire in unfavorable situations, a Gangrel's instincts are calibrated foremost to make sure that they see another night. Subtract dice equal to your Bane severity of the Gangrel from any roll to resist terror frenzies. Ugh. Basically, they chicken out constantly.
Yeah, it's like the Bruja primary bane, but you're a coward.
That is so not the Gangrel. You know, like I can see a Gangrel resisting and then going, and I'm out of here, and leaving on their own volition. But when
Yeah.
it comes to the concept of a Gangrel going, you know what? I can't handle this crap. I gotta go. Like I don't see it. You know?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really put that much thought into it, looking at it like that.
Well, I don't think the
Um,
variants get enough view, and that's one of the reasons why I like to bring them up here.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of I think I'm of a similar mind. Like I want to disagree with you for the sake of conversation, right? But I don't think I really do. I think I
the
kind of
the more
I think
you
I see.
agree with me, the more topics we can cover in this hour.
That's true. Yeah. Uh, I think that just as a quick like devil's advocate,
Yeah.
I think instead of seeing it as cowardice, you see it as like your beast. Like the gangrel are suited for survival. The beast is just going to make sure you do it.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
what if the Gangrel are calibrated for action, the Beast is calibrated for survival?
that's probably true.
The Gangrel's just like, oh, I'm gonna bring out these claws and show somebody what a high level of fortitude can manage, and then the Beast is just like, you know what? Half a mile to the
No.
west. That sounds good. Let's do that. Let's scream through the streets and just get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't think it's a great bane. I don't think it's a bane I would want to play with. I think
Yeah.
I enjoy the beast traits, the bestial uh, mutations, right?
Hmm.
I think if they would have done something like if they had made it like Hunger Frenzy, which maybe is a little too close to the Banu Hakim, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to have every clan have some kind of weird, like, I'm going to freak out for
Yeah,
something, you know?
that's true. I think
Um,
they could have maybe went like they could have went like an extra mile, you know, and tried to be a little more creative with the Bane. I don't really have any no
yeah.
suggestions coming to mind because
I,
honestly, I don't think about
I just
I don't
personally
think
have
about
not found a
ever
reason to
having it.
run it like that,
I
you
could see
know?
it if you're doing. I could see it if you're doing a like the Vane Pursuit Chronicle that they did on the World of Darkness,
Hmm.
where like there's not a lot of socializing outside of outside of the party, the coterie, and it's a lot of just go 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 go.
True.
I could see it being because it's a flaw, right? It's meant to be something that makes life harder for you
Hmm.
as a vampire. So like I can see that being a situation where it's the better bane than their primary bane.
Hmm.
I still don't like it. I just still don't like it, to be quite frank.
Now, I have, and you've played in games under me as an ST, and I tend
Yeah.
to I've taken, I guess I've taken example from Jason Carl, the way he runs the Beast, where
Uh-huh.
he always has like that voice in your head that talks to you.
Yeah.
I do that in my own way.
Yeah.
I always say that it's either the sire, like specifically the sire, or someone that you have diablerized. And the reason why I
Mm,
do that is because, in my opinion, the idea of the curse being put to somebody else, a little bit of your sire is going to go into you, and that is going to be some of the darkest impulses of your sire. That's why I
yeah.
do that. If I had a game going and I was running with Gangrel survival instincts as a variant bane, I would have to have a constant coward sire in your head all the time.
Yeah.
Like every time somebody slams the door, that Gangrel would be like, "Oh my god, what was that?" Like, I could just see a lot of fun when it comes to running
Well,
it like that.
it's not meant to be cowardice.
No,
It's
I get
terror.
that. I get
So if
that.
you're
I just
terror,
don't
if
think I'd be able to control myself.
I that's fair. It for the sake of storytellers listening to it, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do what I'd do. That would be bad.
I respectfully don't think that that's a good way of
I think a,
portraying it.
I think a
If
lot
you're
of
playing a
these,
character who is already prone to being a coward, like a weasel, quite frankly, you're just scared of everything, and you're gonna
yeah, but
sneak
I'm not
off
saying the character
and
has to. I'm just saying the voice in their head.
right. No,
The
I get
voice in
that,
their head would just be
but
like, "Oh my god, we should get out of here." Why? Fire! That guy's lighting a cigarette. Calm down.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not supposed to be cowardice. It's meant to be like, oh crap, like I mean, vampires have to make fear frenzy tests
Yeah,
whenever
no,
they
no, and
see
I
fire
get
somewhere
that. I
anyway.
don't know. Part
So
of me,
it's really only as common as fire is in your campaign
yeah.
or in your chronicle.
Part of me has always just wanted to run a game that's kind of like what we do in the Shadows, where it's more comedy based than horror based. And
Yeah,
some of these clan variants would be great.
that one would make it a lot of fun. You just
It
have
would.
like you have a gangrel who has a lion aesthetic, and he's just an absolute coward.
The Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
Yay! So moving off of the clan variant, the other weakness that the clan has is their compulsion,
Hmm.
which the gangrel has feral impulses. It says, returning to an animalistic state, the vampire regresses to a point where speech is hard. Clothings, Clothes are uncomfortable, and arguments are best settled with teeth and claw. For one scene, the vampire gains a 3 dice penalty to all rolls involving manipulation and intelligence. They can only speak in one-word sentences during this time. So they basically hulk out. They get really dumb, and they get completely antisocial, and they just get incredibly like frustrated with everything.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The way you feel about the variant Bane is kind of how I feel about the way this compulsion is written.
Okay.
I
I don't.
love the idea of the feral instincts, but the idea that words get hard, you can only talk in one word sentence. You devolve into a Neanderthal.
Yeah, that's basically what it's saying.
Yeah,
I.
and like it's like how, like I actually want to kind of dissect this a little bit because
Yeah,
this is more
that's why
me
we're
being
here.
curious. Yeah, like how do you how do you interpret that in a way that isn't like ooh me dumb, like
Well, you see, it's worse than that because that was a 2 word sentence.
yeah, that's true.
I'm actually not against this compulsion because again, it's not the character. The
Yeah,
compulsions are based on your blood taking over.
yeah.
So it is the feral point. It is the inner like feral hunter gatherer part of being
Okay,
a human that comes up to the surface.
let me rephrase. Let's say let me rephrase. Okay, I like where you're going with that, but let me go ahead and rephrase my question really quickly.
Uh huh.
I've not actually experienced this Bane in play, but maybe one time, or this compulsion, but one time
Yeah.
probably in play. Um, so for other players out there who are like me, who just aren't really sure how to role play because it isn't their character, right? So it's their blood, it's their clan coming to the fore.
Hmm.
How do you role play that? And I will say continue on with your previous thought because I liked what you were saying is like they become the most hunter gatherer, kind
Okay.
of
Okay.
human. But
Well,
like
when do compulsions come into play?
usually when you have a bestial failure
When you have
and
a bestial
with
failure.
or a messy critical and there's no other option
Hmm.
that is suitable.
Now imagine that you're with a coterie and you're playing a gangrel and something has happened. Either something has gone really bad or something has gone right in the wrong way. And part of you is just so damn frustrated about how things did not go to the way that you had planned it. That voice in your head is just poking at you and poking at you about how you could have done better, you should have done better. Probably if you weren't with these other kindred that are not built for survival, you could have done better on your own. You just don't want to think. You want to act on your instincts, you want to do things. What if all this planning that you and your coterie went through is what actually was the cause of things? And then people try to talk to you and they try to bring you out of that funk that you're in, where you're obviously a little bit more withdrawn, you're not engaging with the coterie the way that you should be, and you just it just devolves into guttural like growls and just simple just yes and no, probably more no than anything else.
Yeah.
You know, like
Okay.
what if that Toreador who has always treated you kindly because A, you're dangerous, and
Hmm.
B, you're dangerous, and they
Hmm.
want you to be next to them so that you're like a bodyguard of sorts. And even though
Right.
you enjoy the attention because it brings out that little bit of human feeling in you, you don't want that right now. You want to be left alone. You want to just let your instincts take hold. And then she comes up to you and she touches your arm, and you just push her back, maybe accidentally swat her with your claws, and you're just like no, and you just back off,
Okay.
and that's it. Like there's a point where you lose yourself to being a gangrel, not just a kindred in a coterie. And I believe
Okay.
that this compulsion really brings that out.
I really thank you because that actually painted such a good picture. Like I
Yeah,
had
I
never.
was afraid that the rest of the hour was just going to be me role playing this scene with like a coterie that I'm playing all of them.
No, no, no. Like I genuinely like that. Like I guess I had never seen. Like I know that's. I've always known that's kind of what it's intended to represent is the clan's, withdrawn nature, right?
Hmm.
They've withdrawn from the Camarilla. They withdraw from politics. They withdraw from all of the, larger like social structures of vampires. I guess I'd never like connected those dots as to maybe that's why.
Hmm.
And so I really like that description, and I'm excited to I'm excited to get that compulsion one day in a game.
I unfortunately do not and have not had any gangrel in my game since we had one gangrel that was being played by my player Gwen, and he was playing a gangrel anti-tribute. He was actually playing a
Yep.
city gangrel, and that character was built out of the Sabbat guide, the player's
Yep.
guide to the Sabbat. Um,
That's a Go ahead.
it no, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that that's a topic I think that deserves some of our attention.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great book. It's not
No, I
canon.
mean the city gangrel.
Oh yeah, no, the City Gangrel are awesome. But yeah, it when you get to the point where you're suffering from a bane or a compulsion, there are options in that book that you actually you suffer from a compulsion brought on by your path of enlightenment, not by
Hmm.
your clan. Because the whole
Yeah.
point of the Sabbat is to just ignore the fact that you have a clan in general.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the City Gangrel are I miss them. But I mean, you can have a nice
They're still
storyteller
here.
that allows you to have them. But
They are still here. People don't realize it, but they are.
the
And I don't mean with predator type. Yeah, so a lot of people don't seem to know this, and I've had storytellers turn me down on this despite providing them evidence. But on page 116 and 117 of the Chicago Folios
oh, you're
book,
right on this. Okay,
yes, I am. Starts he starts
make your
he starts
point.
at he starts at 116. His name is Max Blooper Hagen. He's actually from Southern Illinois,
Okay,
which is where I grew up. Um, and he is a gangrel. He's in
okay,
the gangrel section. But some of the whispers about him is that's no gangrel. He might shapeshift, but he talks a lot like a bruja. Hell, he even moves a lot like a bruja.
okay. So
You look at his character sheet, and his disciplines are Celerity 3,
uh-huh.
Obfuscate 2, Protean 3.
Nice. So he's like a legit awesome.
Yep. He is he,
Good
he
addition or good addition renegade.
yeah. He is a Sabbat ex Sabbat survivor.
Okay.
And he got
Nice.
captured by the SI and like basically tormented by the SI.
Okay.
And so he's a very interesting character. If anyone has access to the book, I recommend giving him a read. And if you're a fan of old Gangrel material, uh, there is still hope for us in V5 because they have it's canon. Like it's still
Well,
canon.
I mean, in my game, if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want to play this bloodline, but I like it, it's there. There's not a good predator type for me, or there's something like this. It does not work. Like, how would I do that?" A lot of the times, I'll just be like, "Go ahead and just take like we'll work out a merit where you can take a specific bloodline and stuff like that. Like that way, like if they want it, they still have to pay for it, but like
Hmm.
it's not a no,
Yeah,
you know." Um,
yeah.
so like I mean I've been trying to figure out how to like make the aramanes and stuff like that, and at this point I'm just thinking protean presence and blood sorcery.
I mean, that would definitely be that'd be interesting because they'd have two of the like branching disciplines. But
But
I think Protean and Auspex.
I
Oh,
like
did I cut out?
no, you didn't cut out. No, I mean
Oh,
there's
okay.
also the oh my god the I hate this bloodline so.
Which bloodline?
Oh my god, I don't like the Nordic Gangrel, which is really funny because like those of you who know me, I'm pretty like I love Nordic stuff, but like the oh god, what are they called? What are the Nordic Gangrel called? They have such
I don't remember. I
okay.
know the name, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's one of those things where like I just can't remember because I'm thinking about them too much. But
Yes, exactly.
the anyway, they I don't like them because they traded Fortitude for Auspex.
Mm.
And I want you to tell me how this bloodline of survivors are living in the most treacherous area where you would need that fortitude to survive. The Noeods. It's the Noeods.
Yes.
That's what
Oh,
they
yeah.
are.
Yep.
Tell me exactly why they traded fortitude for Auspex. I could even understand them chasing animalism for Auspex because there's really not that many animals up there to talk to.
Yeah.
But like this is actually one thing where I think Requiem got it right. Bloodlines should get an extra discipline, not replace them.
Not replaced. Yeah, I agree
Not
with that as
replace them.
well.
But also,
Yeah.
bloodlines don't exactly work the same way, so I also kind of understand. And playing a bloodline would be harder if they just got extra disciplines and blah 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 blah. Another reason why I like you can join a bloodline if you have a certain blood potency, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
that was my favorite thing about Requiem.
so but yeah, no. Sadly, I love the concept of the Noeods, and I just hate them on paper.
I think that on paper they should actually have the Clan Bane variant. And the reason that they
I could see
are
that.
survivors is because they run away. They have the heightened senses to avoid
Well,
everything.
I'm not even talking about how dangerous things are, like as in fighting or anything like that. If you are caught in severe cold, like in the Norse parts of the world, you're gonna suffer from frostbite, and you're gonna like just you need fortitude.
Yeah.
uh, anyway, I'm done with my tantrum. I apologize.
No, you're good, dude.
Um,
I mean, do you have like while we're on the topic though, right? Do you have a favorite bloodline? Because I mean, like you said earlier in the
mm,
video, like the Gangrel have the most.
I think out of the historic bloodlines that you said, like in other editions and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I gotta say I'm a huge fan of the Leonin.
Okay.
I think they're hilarious. Um,
How so?
okay, so they get fortitude, presence, and effectively blood sorcery. They practice a power of their own called Ogum,
Yeah.
which was basically the green path Green Path Thaumaturgy. And what it actually did was it was certain glyphs that they would paint on their body and they would get certain effects. It was not exactly the Green Path. I don't want anybody coming after me in the frickin' comments about how I don't know my shit. I do know what I'm talking about. Ogum has several awesome variants between Vampire the Masquerade, the Dark Age book, The Long Night,
Hmm.
um, and all the way up till V20 Dark Ages. They are amazing. I like Ogum. I think it's a great discipline. Um, but I love the whole mythology of the Leonin. They are a Gangrel bloodline, but they don't know it.
Really?
They believe that they are brought in. They're embraced out of forest spirits. It was basically embrace and run. This is why the Gangrel need to stick around as parents sometimes, because sometimes their kids are just stupid. But like they didn't understand the concept of their embrace. They basically their weakness is if they don't get to a party, they get sick. Like they have to party. They are actual party animals. Uh,
So are they like the Fae take on the Gangrel?
no, they're what happens
Like,
when the Gangrel decided to embrace a bunch of drunk druids out in the woods.
oh yeah, that'll do it.
Like if you wanted to make a modern take of the Leonin, it would be the Gangrel like embraced a bunch of people at Woodstock and just left. Like they're hilarious to me, and they don't just have one weak. They don't just have one weakness. They're like piled upon all these horrible weaknesses,
Ooh,
and it's a they start losing their powers and get weaker if they don't attend parties that they know are happening. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
Uh,
that's silly.
but the other one is, for some reason, their blood potency does not hold, and every time they embrace, their I guess in the older editions it wasn't blood potency; it was generation in
Their
general.
generation.
But like
Yeah.
if an eighth generation embraced someone, their child would be ninth generation. So would they. Their generation,
Oh
their
yeah.
generation got higher every time they embraced, and they effectively just first off there's the Inquisition and the witch hunting and all that stuff. Saint Columba and his crusade against the Gangrel, that all happened. Or not Gangrel, sorry, Saint Columba and his crusade against the druids, that all happened. That's part of the second Inquisition, or the part of the first Inquisition and all that. But like they literally embraced themselves into nothing.
Wow.
Like, I think that if there's an ancient thin blood out there, it's because some Leonin embraced to the point where he could not embrace anymore. And they're
So there you
funny.
there you have it, folks. Ogum is just thin blood alchemy.
That would be
I'm
awesome.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Thin blood
That
alchemy that
actually
has
would
to
be
do with
pretty
trees.
and glyphs and runes. That would
Yeah.
actually be an interesting discipline, but that's not what we're here for
It
today.
is a really neat it really is a neat discipline, and it works very well as like a gangrel form of thaumaturgy.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Well,
Do you have a favorite bloodline?
I do, but I kind of want to expand a little bit on what your final comment there was. Was
Okay.
like in Requiem,
Mm-hmm.
the Gangrel were one of the predominant clans who
Circle of
practiced
the Crone.
yes, the Circle of the Crone,
Circle of the
and
Crone.
it's blood sorcery. I think blood sorcery and Gangrel honestly have a lot of room to grow
Mm-hmm.
together due to like the pagan kind of the pagan belief in like witchcraft and things like that kind of the Gangrel are typically associated with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have like the blood sorcery element of that kind of brings to fruition their practice. So I just think that that's an interesting thing that you don't see a lot of people talk about that in V5, but that's probably because Requiem was so bad. But
I think that, and I believe that this is actually mentioned, and I'm talking about it. I'm about to say something about a subject that I know very little about,
okay,
and I'm fully acknowledging this. But I
that's like 80%
believe,
of what I
huh?
say. I'm joking. I'm saying that's like 80% of what I talk about. Things I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
I believe it was in the V20 Dark Age book.
Okay.
I could very well be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was in the V20 Dark Age book that says that the Leonin practice Ogham, but Ogham is actually their version of Khaldunism.
Oh, I could see that.
Like it's not like they basically do the same thing that the Tzimisce do, but differently. Like they get the same effects because they're
Yeah,
affecting the elements and they're working with nature spirits and
spirits.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
See, that's another thing that like it surprises me. Like I get why the Tzimisce are like have a stake or like kind of have the monopoly on Coldenism.
Hmm.
But I think that the Gangrel like it's right up their alley.
Yeah, but
Nature
like if you go into
spirits
the
and
history of cupola and stuff like that, it's a
yeah,
lot different.
I get why it's different,
But
right? But
also,
like I think
Tzimisce practice Khaldunism, but they're not the sole users of it. Like it's rare to find other clans that don't, but like even one of the most famous Khaldunic sorcerers is the Malkavian.
oh really?
Yes.
You'll have to make a note of that and bring up that character
Well,
when we
when
get to
we'll have a discussion about Khaldunism in general at some point. I'm sure it'll come up.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, my favorite bloodline of Gangrel is a bloodline only in social structure and lifestyle.
Okay.
And that is the Mariners. I
Okay.
love the Mariners.
Okay.
I am a big I'm a big fan of, like I love when I was growing up as a kid, the three things that I loved more than anything else were space, like astrology
Hmm.
or astronomy, sorry,
Astronomy.
astronomy, uh dinosaurs and the ocean.
Okay.
Like those were my big things when I was a kid. So I love the ocean. I know a lot of people who are terrified of the ocean, and they absolutely should be. But I am like fascinated with what because the world is mostly water,
Hmm.
and I think as of 2021, we have only discovered, I believe it was 13% of
Oh
everything
yeah,
that
no,
lives in the
we
ocean.
know more about space than we do about our own oceans.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that it's fascinating, like the fact that there's a small like brood of gangrel that just live in the ocean.
Very small. I would like to point that out.
Yeah,
People think that it's a lot bigger than it is, but like the Mariners might as well just be considered an extended coterie at this point.
yeah. It's like I think their numbers don't break 30.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure currently, like the last thing I read about them is that there was like 26 total, and they
Yeah,
mostly live in one lake in Africa.
yeah. Most of them, most of them live in the same location. I love the idea that because vampires really could like obviously the Mariners exist. The idea though that they're like, yeah, I don't have to breathe anymore, and I don't like people. I'm just gonna go live in the ocean.
Well,
It's a
not
funny idea to me.
not to clan hop, but in the Dark Ages, the Nosferatu were very well known to live in the ocean and in rivers and in places like that.
Yeah. Well, they had to.
Yeah. Well, like in I think
They didn't have sprawling like networks of sewer tunnels
yeah,
to reside in.
I think there was an entire society of like Egyptian Nosferatu who lived in the Nile.
I think I remember reading that.
It was just
Yeah,
a neat
yeah,
thought.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't just like it was. There was a whole bunch of them that lived in there. But talking about Egypt actually brings me up to a comment that one of our viewers posed to me was, you know, in Egypt we know that what's now the ministry, the Setites
Hmm.
are predominant in Egypt. But have you ever found an explanation? Because I have yet to find it. And I told them I would look into it.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of like an in canon in lore reason why the Egyptian gods always had animal heads, but are like mostly Setite
Oh,
predominant like bloodlines?
I haven't found anything in game reason. I'm pretty sure that might be in like Ebony Kingdom, um,
Okay.
which I don't mind taking some time to read on. I love that book. I'm really hoping, like I haven't explored it as much as I would want to. I'm actually terrified to, just because of how badly aged,
Yeah.
yeah, how badly aged Kindred of the East is.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for that viewer, I will try to stay on topic a little bit here
Well,
because
I
that's
mean,
a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
we'll get to the ministry. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I think for their question was about the gangrel, and I want to address it just a little bit in saying that I I personally believe that some of the Egyptian gods likely were gangrel.
Okay.
I mean, it's not far fetched to believe that, like, especially with the V5's canon of like clans aren't tied to any one culture. They're just they spread everywhere.
I feel like
I think it's
I
very
do
possible.
feel like that's a modern thing though.
It is,
Like very
but
similar
I
to
would
the idea
say
of people like starting out in a region and branching out. I think that's why the clans are like that now. I still believe
yeah,
very, very much that like there's a reason why like Paris is so big with the Toreador and Austria is so big with the Ventru and the
yeah,
like the up north is so big on Gangrel, Zamitzi, and the Carpathian Mountains. I do believe that in the mythology, and until somebody proves me wrong, I do believe that they spread out from Enoch. If Enoch was a real place, I mean, if we're going with that, if we're going with that storyline, they spread out from Enoch, found their different regions, were very happy, built up their areas, and then as the world started to branch out and go all over the place, they followed their tribes.
yeah. Well, I know that in Egypt was the one with like depicted with like the alligator head. He was actually not a vampire at all. He was a Makole,
Well,
which gets into some
I
deep
mean, yeah, I mean, you
werewolf
got to look at
lore. But
stuff also because, like, you get into things like that, like Osiris and
hmm
like, oh my God, we get into mummy mythology and stuff like that, and
yeah,
God,
I'm not. I have zero experience with that one, so we'll come back to that discussion maybe one day. But to answer that viewer's question, yeah, I think the gangrel. If your narrative for your storyline and your chronicle is that a lot of the Egyptian deities were gangrel, I think that that's entirely plausible explanation.
I
If
think that's plausible. I'm
yeah,
also not against the idea of headdresses,
that's fair too.
you know, because like
Just a very mundane example, but yeah,
it is a very mundane example, but we're also talking about a culture that was massively spiritual and intelligent.
that's true.
So like even if they were kindred, claiming to be claiming to be deities, which I mean we see that with like
Odin.
yeah Odin, Angerboda, Artemis, like Set.
Yeah,
um, you you could see them wearing headdresses because that's what culture did at those
it was
times.
style. It was definitely a big style.
I mean, you look at the you look at the argument, not argument, but you look at the misinformation about Vikings wearing horned helmets.
Yeah.
That came from two incredibly overblown sources that just has caused people to just be wrong about something.
Yeah.
Like you got the Faulkner operas, which like Lord of the Rings and everything are based off of. And then like that's where you get like the woman wearing the horde helmet singing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Vikings didn't dress like that, but those storylines were taken from Bronze Age Nordic stories.
Mm.
And Bronze Age Nordic people wore horned helmets in ceremonies. Only in
Okay.
ceremonies.
Yeah.
Those are massively, massively unpractical on the battlefield. Anyway,
Although that does make me want to play a gangrel who just has permanent like bull horns.
you know, you could play a gangrel with deer antlers. Question for you though: how do you explain beast traits? Like, why do you think they get specific beast traits?
Ooh, okay. I think like why they get that way, or like from their antediluvian, assuming that's the truthful lore, or
Well,
like
what I mean
what
by that,
separates one person's beast traits? Why
what
one person gets shark traits and another gets?
Well, if you okay, does a gangrel, first off, easy question, or not, probably not an easy, simple question, probably not an easy answer. Do you believe that a gangrel should be able to get beast traits from multiple types of animals or just one?
I think it's up to what the player has in mind.
Okay. So you think you can
Because
have like a chimera gangrel coming
oh,
up?
oh yeah, absolutely. I think a chimera gangrel would be. I mean, well, that goes back to Greek mythology. A lot of the monsters of Greek mythology were actually just gangrel in the world of darkness.
I mean, that's not untrue at all. I mean, look at
Yeah,
Typhon and stuff.
exactly.
Um,
Right. So
okay, so
yeah.
a gangrel could, in your
Hmm.
opinion, have like a wolf's maw and like a hawk's talons and stuff. Like you could just mix them.
Yeah, I completely believe that you can.
Okay,
If that's what the player is going for, right? Because
I.
I think meta reason, like you have to have the meta reason of like, well, what are your character's beast traits? Do you have
Mhm.
something specific in mind, or are you, and if the player's like, no, I don't care, or the player's like, I want to be I want it to be chimera like, where it's just a mosh posh of all these different animal traits.
I've
Um,
always, as a storyteller, I've always basically said the animal that they turn into, like using Shape of the Beast, is the
uh
animal that they get the beast traits from.
Interesting.
And the reason I do that is because I have always said that if you want to be a specific animal that's not just wolf and bat, then you have to feed from a specific animal. Basically, like acclimate your blood to get that.
Okay.
That also stops me from having ridiculous animals pop up in like my stories that are set in like American cities.
Yeah.
Like I don't want a gangrel who's just like time for me to turn into a tiger and maul this person. You know,
I
like
I've always taken it less as like what they feed on, which I
mhm.
mean, there's some lore that to support that, right? Like the idea that their blood is mutable.
Okay.
But I've always taken it to be a physical manifestation of their beast.
Okay.
What is the nature of their beast,
Okay.
right? So, for an example, there was a in one of my earliest vampire games, the storyteller had an NPC who was an elder gangrel,
Mhm.
and we never met the character. We only saw a painting of the character, and he was basically like a giant praying mantis, and that said everything to
Fun.
us about that. Said, yeah, it's terrifying, but it said everything about the character as like who the character's beast was. It kind of it painted us a picture about a story about this character, this NPC that we never even met, just off of the traits that he had taken
Yeah.
due to all his frenzies. And so I think it's like the kind of going back to New York by Night, the character Ray, he takes on shark traits,
Yeah.
right? Which I think says a lot about his character and his beast,
Yeah, and
but
my
also
thought
kind
he
of
would have to actually feed off a shark.
well, yeah, he would, but and which would make more sense for like the Mariners, right? But
Mhm.
I think that he, I think it's got a meta reason why it's funny. There's like he's a shark,
Yeah, he's
he's
a
like the
shark
shark.
in the
Shark.
boardroom, you know.
Yeah. But I think it also says something about his character
Okay.
that he is he's always moving, he's always going, but when he smells blood, he doesn't hesitate to strike.
What about the idea that a gangrel can only turn into a scavenger or a predator?
That's another old worldy kind of home rule, I think.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of it personally. I think I think the book says they can turn into an animal of their choosing,
Mhm.
of equal size and mass. So I say let it be anything. Because, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier a character who could have like deer antlers.
Yes.
What
That's
is
actually where
more
this came
terrifying?
from.
Yeah, what is more terrifying to you than uh than this noble beast of the forest
Mhm.
mauling you to death and tearing you apart?
Well,
Well,
the reason why the conversation has been led into that direction is for that exact same reason. There are species of deer that eat animals.
Interest. I didn't see. I didn't know that.
Okay. There was an incident that happened. This is years ago. This is oh god dang, probably pushing like 20 years ago at this point. There was an incident where people thought that there was a big cat loose in England, like out in the farmland of England. And they thought that, and there's all these rumors about like about big cats, panthers, and stuff like that loose in England from like a circus train that crashed like decades beforehand and stuff like that. So this one farmer who got tired of all of his chickens dying and believing that there was a big cat and like nobody would believe him, set up a bunch of night vision trail cams around his farm. And it turned out that there was a family of deer waiting for everybody to go to bed, jumping the fence, and then stomping the chickens to death and eating them.
Wow.
Those are predator deer.
That's. I don't want to hunt those deer.
That happened. That is a
Yeah.
thing. So you could have your noble lord of the forest with a 12 point buck gangrel. Like that definitely could happen. Um, and I think
Have you ever heard the old folk country song 30 like it was a comedy song called the 30-point buck?
No, Jesus.
You should look it up. It's very funny. It's a very funny little song. That's what that made me think of. Your
Yeah.
noble lord of the forest, the 30-point buck
The
gangrel.
30-point buck gangrel. Every time you blood surge, you get another point on your antlers.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fan of the whole it should only be scavengers and predators, primarily because I think there's a part of me who's really, really dreading Bunnicula showing up in my games. I don't want a bunny vampire in my
Okay.
games.
You I understand. I share that opinion.
I mean, you get
I'd also
you
do
get
not want Bunnicula.
you get a gangrel who has shape of the beast, soaring leap, fortitude, celerity, and then you've got the freaking killer rabbit from Monty Python. He's just soaring leaping at people's throats and like using brutal feet on them. That's terrible.
Okay.
I don't want to see like that is a level of that's something that I would allow in my comedy game,
Yeah.
but not in a serious World of Darkness game cuz like name what non-predator, non-scavenger animal would you want your character to be? But seriously, there can be no examples of it being a meat-eating animal.
Okay. I think you're addressing a very different problem than just Shape of the Beast.
Okay.
And that is players understanding the theme and tone of the story that's being told.
Yeah.
If it's a comedy game, by all means, be Bunnicula, make some jokes, and laugh your butt off with your friends.
Well,
with
I'm
your
just
beer.
saying, like, what form would you take if you were a gangrel and could choose your form? Because personally, in my games forever, I have always allowed the gangrel to choose their forms, depending on what way we were doing it. Some spiritual gangrel ritual or something that let them tap into that spirit animal or whatever. But like, if another clan ever got a hold of Protean, I always said you have wolf and bat. The end. Only the gangrel can choose what shapes they get. That has always been the the benefit of playing gangrel compared to another clan that got a hold of Protean. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that players should have some agency in what they do with their powers when it comes to Protean. I do think it needs to fit the theme and tone of the story. Like, obviously, you can't have a great like grizzly bear running around New York City.
Okay. I've known
Uh,
bear gangrel. I'm not too upset
Oh,
about that.
I love the bear gangrel. It's probably one of my favorite animal forms to take for the gangrels. Like, bears are cool.
Mhm.
They're terrifying, terrifying.
As
predators.
they should be.
Yes, they are. I don't like. Were you asking me just like what my personal take is?
What
Like,
would
if I could
you
turn into an animal, what would it be?
if you were a gangrel What would you make your fight and flight forms?
My fight form would probably be pretty generic. It
Okay.
would be a canine of some kind.
Okay. So
Um,
predator or scavenger.
yeah. My flight form would probably be. I think it would have to be like an eagle or a falcon.
Okay, a bird of
Uh,
prey.
yeah, I've seen we where I live. I lived at a property at one point a
Hmm.
couple years ago. I actually had an eagle nest in my front yard,
Okay.
and I have never been so like awestruck at just how beautiful something that like they really are like fascinating creatures to watch.
Hmm.
I've also never been so terrified as when one of them swooped probably a foot over my head
Yeah.
with a snake in its talons. So, but I think yeah, seriously, I think a bird of
Okay.
prey would probably be my flight form.
I've
Um,
I've played
yeah,
wolf and bat.
obviously those neither of those are either. Obviously, neither of those are like non-predator scavenger creatures. So I don't like if that was what you were hoping to get from me.
No, I was
I'd
just
have to think more
wondering,
about
like,
it. But
if you thought if you could, if your choice would be something that was not scavenger or predator. I have a friend who I don't want to name names, but if he hears this, he's probably going to laugh that I'm mentioning him because he'll know exactly who it is the moment I say this. He has a character with Protean, and he turns into a hummingbird.
oh
Hummingbirds are actually pretty vicious hunters. Like
yeah,
everybody's just like, oh, look at them drinking their plant juice and stuff like that. They're sweet. No, they're killers. They're vicious, vicious killers. And the reason he uses he uses animalism to call an entire swarm of hummingbirds whenever he flies because he wants people to think that he bursts into like 1,000 hummingbirds and flies in all different directions when he just really has an entourage.
that's awesome. I love that.
But like
That is something that's actually a visual that I want to touch base on because there are a lot of movies that have that visual of like the vampire
where
bursts
they
into a
just
swarm of bats and
explode
comes
like
together.
the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when Mina Harker explodes into thousands of bats. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or like the Dracula Untold.
Hmm.
He turns into a cloud of bats and
Legacy of
and
Cain.
and kind of reforms. Yeah,
Legacy of
I,
Cain. Whenever he turns into
what
a bat.
that always felt to me like some kind of protean celerity amalgam,
Hmm.
or would if for our city gangrels out there, I mean, would you just allow a player to say that that's what their blink looks like?
Um,
Their blink or their traversal?
I don't know. Actually, I feel like it's a high. I feel like it's a heightened level of protean. Maybe not celerity. I mean, I guess if you had to put, if we were definitely putting an amalgam on it, I would, I would have to say that it would probably either be protean celerity or cheap out, completely cheap out, and do what most of the amalgams are, and say that it's protean dominate, and you're dominating yourself to explode into bats. Um,
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that that take, but
but like, I don't know. I mean, there are examples in the world of darkness of creatures that can do that.
really.
We have not seen them in fifth edition quite yet. I actually I think they are in fifth edition. I'm pretty sure that the Anunnaki, the were spiders, are mentioned in the I almost said Laws of the Wild, the Werewolf the Apocalypse fifth edition book. I know that there's a Korax mentioned. They don't call them Korax. They don't call them Anunnaki, but I do believe they did mention a spider um, in like the not antagonists, but like things you could run into.
Okay.
And the Anunnaki, they have a form where they basically just fall apart into thousands of spiders, very much like the movie Little Nicky. and
Hmm.
except not with human heads. Uh, and you basically have to kill all of them
Yeah.
to be able to kill the spider. So it's like the perfect example of fair escape. You know, like if one spider gets away, it may take a while for them to regenerate, but they will, and they are coming for you.
Yeah. I
So
don't like spiders, so anyone who plays a spider-related gangrel in my game,
watch out.
you better have good fortitude. I'm coming for you.
They're coming for you.
You're getting squashed.
I used to have a severe issue with spiders, but I fixed that. It took me a while. I had to take care of take care of spiders in a animal caretaker situation, so I fixed it. Um, anyway, so
Sorry.
I think so I think we are I think we've come to the point where we're starting to branch out into other stuff.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about Clan Gangrel?
Final thoughts about Clan of the Beast. Final thought. When you're playing a gangrel,
Hmm.
pay attention to the relationship with the beast. No other clan has that relationship as a core found like a core part of their clan identity.
Hmm.
Um, really have fun with it. Whether you prefer the Jason Carl approach of like a voice in your head, or you prefer a voiceless instinct that runs through your character, and maybe it's in their own voice, right? It's like intrusive thoughts. Um, but have fun with the identity of your beast. Just get a separate character sheet and like do the mental and social traits of your beast. Have fun with it.
Mm,
I think that's the best thing I could tell players when playing a gangrel. You want to experience that connection that the clan is known for having with their beast. Give your storyteller a character sheet with your beast's mental and social traits on it, and let them tell you a fantastic story.
that's kind of scary if the bee starts rolling dice.
Yeah,
That's terrifying. um,
have fun with it.
yeah, no, definitely have fun. Yeah, I love Gangrel. I think they're always going to be like my second favorite clan. Um,
Hmm.
if I mean, like I hate saying it, but like I have like I love the Zamitsi, I love the Gangrel, and I love all the other ones. They're just slightly below those two. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like what's your third favorite
I
clan?
will.
All of them.
Yeah, my list is like I kind of have three clans that sit at number one. It just depends on the situation and what
Yeah, I
mood
can
I'm
see
in.
that. I can see
You
that.
know, the Gangrel are one of those three,
Hmm.
and I will always love the clan. And like kind of like you said earlier, is like if I have if I'm just unexpectedly being tossed into a game, I'm bringing in a Gangrel because they can be whatever I want them to be in that moment.
Hmm.
And if their personality changes a little bit or evolves as play goes on, as I figure more out about the character, it works for the character.
True. Awesome. Okay. Any self promotion you want to do for yourself at the end of this?
Yeah. Hey guys, I am Silent Comedy. You can find me in the Our World of Darkness Discord. I am an
He pretty much
admin
runs the
there.
place.
I yeah, I can't take all the credit, but uh, come hang out with us in the Discord. We're starting to get some people are starting to get we're starting to get some traffic in the Discord. So let's get some more people in there. Let's have some conversations. At me at literally any time of the day. If I'm asleep, that is the only time I won't answer. But almost every other time, I will reply. Let's have some conversations. I
Yeah.
want this week in particular, I want to
This
hear
week.
what everyone's at me in the Discord. I want to hear what everyone's favorite thing about the Gangrel is. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's thematic. I don't care if it's mechanic. Let's just get some conversation going
Yeah.
and let's have some fun with it, guys. I'm excited to see the series pick up and the community really be involved in it.
Very true. Very true. My self promotion is going to be a build off of the same one that I did for the Bruja Tapping the Vein, is that I am going to be storytelling at the Darkness Emergent event in Chicago, Illinois on uh, and in June from June 6th through June 9th. I am specifically going to be doing 6-player one shots during the day so that you guys aren't going to miss the big events. But I'm going to be doing a one shot on Friday and a one shot on Saturday. Limited space at those tables, only 6 players. But it is going to be very fun. We have a Camarilla setting game, and we have a Anarch setting game, and you guys are gonna have the chance to. There's a Neonate game. There's also a Ancilli game that's going to be happening. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I've already got the stories planned out. I'm really excited to run them. And I'm looking forward to seeing if people from this community want to come play at a table that I am going to be hosting at.
I'm gonna be there.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot
But
of fun.
it's gonna be so much fun.
It was
But
also just announced today that Jason Carl is going to be there.
really,
Yeah, that's dating the recording that we're doing this on. That we're doing this on February 8th. Yes, Jason Carl is going to be there. He is going to be running a charity game, which is I really if it's not at the same time I'm running mine, I might try to get at that table.
yeah, definitely. That would be so much fun.
So, but I'm at least going to do my damnedest to try to meet the man, shake his hand.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so
Well, and for those of you who aren't going to be able to make it to Chicago, Illinois,
mhm.
to join us at the table, you can find us on the Our World of Darkness Discord for Mekhet's channel.
Yep.
Listen to our Dark Knights of Prague series.
I'm
You can
having such a
experience.
hard time editing that. I can't stop laughing.
I know.
Not a comedy game at all, but
It's
like the
not.
stuff that
It's
you
not.
guys do.
Yeah, you guys can be kind of like you're in the call with us, experiencing that very, very frightening scenario that he's thrown us into in Prague. And come hang out with us in that chat. Come hang out with us in the comment sections on that because you guys can experience all the fun characters that are there and hear me play the world's sassiest Toreador.
I miss Emil.
I do too.
Especially the early nights of Emil where you're just like really laying it on thick.
Oh yeah, he lays it on thick and he knows he does.
I swear, between you and Dr. Ford, man, I'm just losing it. And oh my
Some of the
god.
best RP I've ever
Ugh.
had was Mill and Dr. Ford going back and forth.
Yeah, Mr. Prophet, and then okay, I'm just gonna start gloating about the characters.
But yeah,
Anyway,
go hang
so
out with us in that chat in those comment sections as well.
yep. All right, so we are going to be doing Clan Malkavian next, I believe.
I'm so excited.
I am stoked about that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, join us for that one. I am voivodemekhet. This has been tapping the vein with me in silent comedy, and I'm excited to keep this going. This is probably one of my new favorite segments of the game of the channel.
Love it.
Yep. All right. See
Have
you
fun.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.